Hi, you're watching Dreaming Stories and I'm Anna. So today I decided to showcase some of the books that I bought in the last few months. I'm not sure if it was 2 or 3 months, probably like within the last 3 months. I definitely have book buying problem. It's not, let's say, out of control completely, but I definitely buy more books that I'm able to read physically. Uh, but this is a judgment-free place, so we don't judge each other here. So if you are like me and love collecting books and love having them on your shelves and just enjoy looking at them, all power to you. If you are one of more environmentally conscious people and just these nice people who actually have self-control, amazing. I would love to follow your lead, but I think in terms of books, I just literally lack willpower. Today, I have 30 books to show you. So let's start. The first book I actually received it by post just a few days ago. It's The Soul Grows Heavy. It's a novella, so it's a very short one, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's mermaid fairy tale retelling. It's a dark one, so it's supposed to be a horror fairy tale retelling. I'm quite excited about this one, but since receiving it, I actually checked some of the reviews, and they're pretty controversial. So I'm not sure how I'll feel about this one, but still, it's not really a big investment, let's say, on my part. So I'll give it a go. I'll let you know what I think about this one. So another one is Come Damascus by Chuck Tingle. I've heard a lot about it so far. I've heard really, really good reviews about his books, and this is the first book by him that I decided to try. I bought it actually on my trip to Croatia. So we found this amazing bookshop where we're staying, and I couldn't resist, and I bought a few books because they have um, UK and American editions, which is quite unusual for the UK. We usually don't really have many American editions. So yes, I was like a child in chocolate shop. I was running around and trying to check all the books. I probably would buy more if I actually could bring them back to the UK. But yes, I decided to give this one a go. As far as I remember, it is about gay conversion camp. And since it's a horror, I think the methods employed there are quite dark. I was planning to read it in around like October, November. I bought it in October during my Halloween stint, but I literally didn't have time to get to this. Actually, I wanted to buy another book, but it's off after this one, Where Are Your Gaze? So I'll try this one. If I like it, I'll definitely buy that one. So another book that I bought recently and actually gave it already a full review on my channel. I will link it to this video. So if you're interested, please have a look, because I absolutely love this book. It's a standalone fantasy about a young protagonist, Shin, and she's an inspiring doll maker. So in this universe, in the country called One, where the book is set, um, people are struggling from attacks by Shod, and the only thing that can kill Shod actually dolls, because doll makers of this country create this different dolls, artisan dolls or guardian dolls, and they put a birthmark on them, so it gives life to the dolls, so they can protect people from the horror of Shod. So Shin, our protagonist, was trying to pass her final exam for the license to become a licensed doll maker, And during the exam, she unfortunately didn't receive the license that she wanted because she really wanted to become a guardian doll maker. And unfortunately, the licensor and all people around seems think that she's more of an artisan doll maker because her dolls are just too pretty, too fragile in their opinion. And Shin is embarking on a journey to prove them wrong. So we have a very unlikable protagonist in the center of this book. I personally really hated her in the beginning, but don't fret. Um, just give it a go. Just stay with the book. I think it will prove you that you can really get attached, emotionally attached to this character and to other characters in this book. It is a absolutely magical journey, quite dark at times, especially by the end of it. But I'm sure you will really like it if you give it a go. Again, I'll link the review of this book to this video. Please give it a go. We don't really have many standalone fantasy books nowadays. That's your chance. Okay, next book that I bought recently, The 13th Child by Erin Craig. I think it's about a 13th child of the family, and she was promised to the god of death. She gets a knowledge from him, but as in exchange for this knowledge, she sort of a little helper for death himself. So she has to bring people to death. So she murders them, as far as I understand from the synopsis. But at some point, she meets a young prince, and probably she falls in love with him and decides to defy the death. So we'll see about this one. To be honest, when I purchased this book, I didn't properly check the description, the synopsis. It looks like it's a romantasy. If you watched my previous videos, you know that I am not a big fan of romance books. I don't really have anything against them. It's just not something that I personally enjoy. I'll think about this one, but I might actually just donate it because I usually just don't enjoy this sort of books. We'll see. We'll see about this one. Maybe I'll be in the mood, but probably unlikely. Okay, the next stack of books I have. These are 6 books. All of them are from Penguin Classics Deluxe Edition series. I already spoke about the series in some of my previous videos. I'm trying to collect this series because all of them look absolutely amazing. I will show you all of them now. Actually, I bought 7 of them, but I already lent one of them to a friend of mine because he's reading it at the moment. So I'll just pop up an image of it on the screen at some point so you can have a look. But yes, I am on a mission to collect all the books from this series. So as I said, they are all very beautiful. Look at this one, for instance, The Haunting of Hill House. I read it recently. I think it was part of my October reading wrap-up. I really enjoyed it. It's a classic haunting house story. Probably everyone already read it. I absolutely love writing by Shirley Jackson. I really, really like it. But at the same time, I found it quite similar to another book written by her. As far as I remember, it's We Always Lived in the Castle. So I'm not sure if you have the same sort of feeling. Please let me know what you think about it. But the writing style, even though it's absolutely beautiful, I love it. Plus the characters she creates in her books, I found them a little bit similar in these two books. I read only two books by the author. I probably should give a go to another one just for my better understanding of the situation. So yes, I found them quite similar. I wish they were a little bit more distinct, but otherwise I really enjoyed this book. Another one is the New York Trilogy by Paul Auster. I read and reviewed it in my October wrap-up video as well. These are three sort of novellas. It is reimagining of mystery genre. So don't be fooled. These are not really detective stories. So it's reimagining of detective stories. We don't really have the sort of full-fledged investigation and the mystery unfolding and being solved in this book. It's more about vibes. So there's the reading very beautiful but quite dense. There is no much action or dialogue happening in the books. If you're one of these people who really like action-driven stories, probably you will not really like it. You will not appreciate it. But if you like books with lots of vibes and musings of the author, you may give it a go. I think you will like it. But it is, I would say, about seeking rather than finding, if I can put it this way. So there is lots of vibes, but not much happening. So another book in this series that I have, The Bloody Chamber by Angela Carter. It's a 75th anniversary edition. These are short fairy tale retellings. I would say dark fairy tale retellings. If you're into this sort of genre, fairy tale retellings, I would really recommend it. I absolutely enjoyed first few stories in the book. After that, I would say they became more, let's say, confusing and shorter. And I felt I didn't have much to hold on. So it's definitely not a 5-star read for me, but I know that lots of people love it. And if you're into dark fairy tale retellings, please give it a go. I think you might really love this one. The next book in the series that I bought recently is The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Oh my god. I'm really sorry if I botched the name. Yes, it's a very well-known book and probably everyone read it. I'm not sure if it's a part of our school program, but unfortunately I didn't read it because my school program was full of Russian classical literature. So I decided to give it a go now. As far as I know, it is set in 17th century Puritan Boston in Massachusetts, and our protagonist is giving birth to a daughter out of wedlock. So it's a considered sin because she's not married and she has to wear a letter A as a sign of her sin. This book is exploring themes of sins, legality, and guilt. I'm really, really excited about this one. And the last book I have available from this series is The Wind in the Willows. I think it's a very well-known children's book. Again, I didn't read it. It's about whimsical adventures of these animals in the forest. I'm really looking forward to reading this one as well. And as already mentioned, I have another book from the series that I don't have with me at the moment just because one of my friends borrowed it. It's actually Alice in Wonderland, Adventures Alice in Wonderland. I read it quite a few times already, but I'm always excited to read it again. And that particular edition is absolutely stunning. I'll just add it somewhere on the screen so you can have a look. The next books on the list that I purchased recently is actually another series. This is a complete series. So I have all the books in this very short series. It's actually 5 books only, and it was recently released by Penguin Publishing House. This is a weird fiction series. Honestly, I'm still not sure if it was a cover buy for me because look at them. Look how beautiful these books are. It is amazing. They are absolutely stunning. I think the designer did an amazing job here. They are so eye-catching. You just want to have them. At least that's how I react to these books. I will not be talking about these books individually because I'm planning to read all of them because as you can see, they're not very big books. They're quite short and I want to review the series as a whole. I already read the first book of the series. It was actually part of my November reading wrap-up video. If you're interested, please have a look at that one. I will link it to this video as well in case you're interested. But this is the anthology of the series. So this book, relatively short book, contains 9 short horror stories. So if, for instance, if you're like me, a person who is very interested but has never tried classic horror books or stories, give it a go. It is not a heavy investment in terms of time on your side, but I think it will give you a good idea if you're actually interested in exploring more of these classic horror stories. In my case, I absolutely loved the experience. I think out of these 9 short stories, I didn't like only one. And it's not like I really didn't like it, but maybe it just wasn't exactly for me. But I absolutely enjoyed 8 other stories. But please mindful that these are classic horror stories. So they are product of their time with some of the faults of their time. So if you feel that sometimes you're overly sensitive to some of the topics, maybe you will not get so much enjoyment out of the stories. But in my case, generally, if we are talking about classic books, older books, let's say, I try to be more forgiving, just because worldviews are changing. I would say morals are changing, and we view things in different light, in a different stage of our life sometimes, and throughout the history as a humanity as a whole. So I enjoyed it. I think it was one of the best books I've read in the month of November. And I think even if you are not interested in the whole series like I am, maybe just give it a go, just do this one. And if you enjoy it, maybe you will decide to purchase the whole series. Next books I actually purchased as part of my Christmas book shopping in London, and I already put it in a video. I'll link this video as well so you can have a look, because in that video it was a little bit of a different format, so it's not filmed here in the house. I actually decided to show people my Christmas London adventures, how I went for book shopping, and the Christmas lights on the way for Christmas shows. And I really hope you will like that format. And please let me know what you think about it, because I have a plan to maybe show different places to people, because it is nice and cozy to sit on the sofa and talk about books, but I feel there are so many beautiful things around us, and we can have adventures not only in books but just in places that we visit. And my inspiration is actually to try to combine these things in future videos if possible. So the first book of that book haul, small book haul because I purchased 5 books. A Man Called Ove. I think I'm one of the last people on this planet who didn't read this book. Looking forward to. I heard absolutely amazing things about this one. I actually gifted this book to one of my friends last year, and he loved it. As far as I remember, he gave it 5 stars and wrote a very elaborate and long-winded review on this one, and it was a very good and compelling review. So actually, after this review that he created, I'm even more excited to give this book a go. So it's about a grumpy man who lost his wife recently, as far as I remember, and he's very contrarian. People don't necessarily like him, but his life is about to be turned upside down after new neighbors arrive to the neighborhood, a young couple with 2 young children. So I think it is a book about finding new human connection, and I think all of us need it sometimes. Yes, A Man Called Ove. Next book, Kim Jong-un, born 1982. Another very, very famous book. Funny thing, when I actually was paying for this book in a bookshop, a cashier told me that she absolutely loved it and she really recommended this book to me. So yes, it's one of my priority books. I'm planning to read it as soon as possible. So this book is about a 30-something woman living in Korea, and she's been a victim of institutionalized misogyny all her life. I think for many of us, they can really feel it and can find some similarities and in experiences of this character. Another very famous book, especially it was heavily covered recently by some of the booktubers that I personally follow, I Who Have Never Known Men. It is an English translation of a French book. It was actually published some time ago, but I'm not sure. I don't think it was really obscured, but it just was really drawn to my attention recently by some of the booktubers, and they made me really excited to read this one. And it's quite a short one, so yes, I'll give this one a go as soon as possible. So this one is about a young girl who lives in a cage. She shares a cage with 39 other women who are being guarded by men who are controlling every move and every activity of this woman. They don't see where they are, they don't know why they're in the cage, they don't know where they are, and they're not allowed to leave the cage. They literally live in the cage. And I think in the course of the story, we're discovering what's happening, why they're there, what's actually happening. Another book I'm very excited about is If Beale Street Could Talk by James Baldwin. I heard about another book by this author, Giovanni's Room. I think that one is probably one of the most famous books by this writer. But when I was in the bookshop, I actually saw this one and I decided to grab it because it's a relatively short one. I feel I recently got a little bit tired of longer books. I don't have anything against them. Sometimes I really love this feeling of opening a big book and imagining all the adventures that awaits you. But sometimes I just feel you get a little bit maybe burned out from this longer stories, and you just want something short, maybe sweet and short, or maybe thoughtful and short, but something that you can read in a day or two and get all the enjoyment out of it without too heavy of without a heavy time commitment. So this one will definitely satisfy my needs in this regard. So in this story, we are following a 19 years old protagonist who is pregnant by her partner, who is wrongfully accused of rape and imprisoned in the course of this book. I think it explores their relationship and tension in the society. Another book from the same Christmas shopping is The Woman in Black by Susan Hill. This is another historic horror story. As far as I remember, it is a haunted house story. I'm not sure. I already mentioned in the Christmas shopping video. I have an impression that I've read it at some point in the past, but I don't remember. It just, the name, the title of this book sounds so familiar that I'm not sure. I think or I've read it or I am deeply confused and I'm just mistaken and just don't listen to me in general. But yes, I want to actually check if I've read it and what I think about this one in general. Again, haunted house story, classic one. Our protagonist goes to a haunted house and we read about his experiences there. If you read this one, let me know. Okay, this book was purchased a little bit before my Christmas shopping, and I heard absolutely amazing things about this book, even though people said it's quite heavy, so it's not one of these happy light reads. This is Disgrace by J.M. Coetzee. In this book, we are following our protagonist. He's a professor in South African University in post-apartheid South Africa. And I think he's having an affair with one of his students, which absolutely destroy his reputation. And we're following events that unravels after his disgrace. Again, I heard that it's a very heavy book, but I think it covers one of these important topics, and I really want to read it as soon as possible as well. I'll let you know what I think about this one. Another book that I bought actually in the month of October as well as part of my Halloween book buying spree. This is Hex. This book is staged in a small town which is cursed. In this town, people regularly encounter a witch or a woman with sewn eyes and mouth, and people encounter her on pretty much a daily basis. No one is already surprised at seeing her, but at the same time, people are trying to conceal this phenomenon from the rest of the world. But unexpected events follow after a bunch of teenagers from this town film the witch, and I think the video goes viral. Another book is part of my October book buying spree. Never Whistle at Night. This is an anthology of short horror stories by indigenous authors. I already covered in my November reading wrap up. It was again one of the best books I read in November. I really enjoyed this story, this collection of stories. I think there are just a few stories that didn't really impress me, but I would say I really like more than 80% of the short stories in this book, which is quite unusual in such a collection. So I think if you are looking forward to expand your reading and maybe cultural understanding of different cultures, I think it's a very, very good book because I've never read anything by indigenous authors. And again, it's a good way of finding new authors that you may enjoy. For instance, after reading this book, I decided to buy a book by one of these authors listed in the book. and actually it will be the next book I will show you. This one, Elatso, do I pronounce it correctly? I'm really sorry again, by Dusty Little Badger. She is one of the authors listed in the previous book, and I really wanted to give it a go. I think there are 2 books in the series, if I'm not mistaken. This is a book set in alternative America where magic exists. And we're following our main protagonist, young girl whose cousin died recently, and I think she's just trying to discover what happened. And she has a special gift of resurrecting spirits of animals. So I think it sounds very intriguing. I want to understand actually if it's a sort of detective fantasy story or it's something else. There is no much in the synopsis, but what I read is already quite intriguing. Another book on my list is actually very famous recently. I think it was covered by many of booktubers in the last year. Blood Over Bright Heaven by M.L. Wong. There is another very famous book by this author, A Sword of Kaigen. I've never read any of the books by this author, but I decided to start with the recent one. In this book, we are following our main protagonist, Siona, and in this book, she is fueled by this strong desire to be the first female admitted to this high magistracy of University of Magic and Industry. She passes her exams, but she's scorned by her colleagues, and instead of qualified science assistant, she's being given a janitor. But unknown to anyone, this janitor had his own interesting and dark past. 10 years ago, he was a nomadic hunter, and he lost his family on a perilous journey from plain to the city. He's trying to uncover what happened to his family, and as far as I understand, they team up together and work on their goals together. Another book on my list is actually Service Model by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I covered this one already in my November reading wrap up as well. I was really excited about reading this one because I heard absolutely amazing things about this author of books. I think my expectations were too high. I'm definitely not judging this author by this book. It doesn't mean that this book is bad. I think it is a very interesting story. I just expected more out of it. In this book, we're following our main protagonist, who is a valet robot. He's a valet in this posh, large mansion full of the service robots, and they are serving one master. One of the days in the beginning of the book, literally in the beginning of the book, something happens to Charles, our main protagonist, and he slices the throat of his master. And he's trying to uncover what actually drove him to kill his own master. Because when he examines his recordings and his programming, he doesn't see a reason why he could have done such a thing. Investigation follows, and as expected, police robots can't find his motivation. He's being discharged from his duties, and he's going on this personal adventure, finding new employment and trying to understand why he killed his master and what is broken inside him. This is just the beginning of this journey. It becomes so much more. It evolves in this bigger search for the meaning, for what actually happens with the world and with the humanity. I think this story has so much potential, and it gives you somewhat a philosophical reasoning by the end of the book. But for me personally, I just was really yearning for something a little bit deeper. If you're looking for a fun, not very deep story, but at the same time that provides you some thinking, I think you will really enjoy this one. Give it a go. Another book on the list. And I purchased this one in October as well, and this one was part of my October reading wrap up, The Year of the Beaching by Alexis Henderson. I think it's a part of the series, the first book in the series. And as I already mentioned in that video, I don't think I'll be continuing this one. It is a YA series, but it's not the reason why I don't continue with this one. I expected something more out of this book. In this story, we are following our main protagonist who lost her parents. Her father was burned on a pyre, and her mother died during childbirth. She is being raised by her family, by her grandmother, and the rest of the family. But the rest of the town is somewhat suspicious about her just because she's seen as a daughter of a potential witch. In this world, we have religion which is driven by two gods, female goddess of darkness and male god of fire and goodness. Sounds familiar. I don't think it's very original, but at the same time, it provides an interesting background for the story. It is very patriarchal society with the prophet at the head of it. The society allows polygamy, obviously for the male citizens. And the town is surrounded by dark forest housing witches. So I have 3 books to list here. The next one is A Monster Call by Patrick Ness. I'm pretty sure everyone read this one. Yeah, unfortunately for me, I didn't have a chance, but I am intending to fix it as soon as possible. In this book, we're following our main protagonist, Kona, who sees the same monstrous nightmares every night since his mother got ill, and it seems that her treatment doesn't really help her. But one of the mornings, he sees his nightmare sort of embodied in the real world. I want to discover what the story hides, why it's so famous, and why so many people said it's absolutely amazing. I'll let you know. And the 2 last books from my recent book shopping, actually classic books set in Nazi Germany. So I am expecting something heavy and sad, but I'm ready for it. Next one is extremely famous, and again, probably everyone read it. I didn't. The Book Thief. Here, I will follow our main protagonist, a young girl, Lizelle, who lives with the foster family in Nazi Germany in 1939. And she starts stealing books. And we follow her story up, how it's unfolded in that dark times. I don't really know much about the story, and to be honest, I want to remain in the dark. I haven't watched a movie, haven't read this book, but I intend to read it probably in January, February. I expect it to be a very heavy and sad experience, but I think it's a very important one, and again, I'll update you. Again, a very heavy probably read. It's another classic story set in Nazi Germany in 1940. This is Alone in Berlin by Hans Fallada. I heard amazing things about the story, and again, looking forward to reading this one as soon as possible. I think in this book we are following ordinary people in Berlin in 1940 and how they're trying to defy Nazi ruling in their very sort of small, ordinary, but very important ways. We are following journey of these people. Please let me know if you enjoyed this book haul and if you have some recommendations, or if, for instance, you already read some of these books and what's your opinion about them. Like and subscribe, and see my future adventures, and we can discuss all the books you read.